Welcome. This is Ace Debates with the Social Talks. Our subject today, uncovering the religious aspects of the Tigray War. This video contains the mention of issues that can be triggering to some. In November 2020, the Ethiopian government started an offensive against the TPLF, Tigray Party's Liberation Front, the ruling party in the region. This started as a retaliation for the alleged attack on a government military base. The war lasted 2 years and was mainly fought between the TPLF on one side and the Ethiopian National Defense Force, joined by regional militia, especially Amhara, and Eritrean forces. Atrocities have been reported on both sides, concentrating on the Amhara and Tigray region. These include acts of sexual violence, the arbitrary killing of civilians, and the destroying and looting of civilian structures. In the Tigray region, where the loss of lives was most important, these also include the restriction of humanitarian aid in the region, leading to over 2 million people displaced and many facing famine. Culturally very significant Orthodox churches have not been spared from the conflict, with Ethiopian Orthodoxy being such an important part of the identity, history, and tradition in Ethiopia. Questions arise about why these institutions were not spared in the conflict. Some churches hit during the offensive date back to the 6th century and hold significant religious artifacts. Christian Orthodoxy in Ethiopia has the power to be a unifying force. This has, however, not been the case in the conflict. This piece will not speculate as to the reasons of the targeted attacks on churches, but will shed light onto the religious aspects of the conflict that may inform this. The Tigray region holds major significance for the early spread of the Orthodox Christian religion in the region, and the beautiful rock-hewn churches and monasteries date back as far back as the 5th century. These world artifacts are a testimony to the deep Orthodox culture and identity of the nation. Important to this is the legacy of the Aksumite Empire for its role in the spread of Christianity. It covered the north of Ethiopia, including the Tigray region and current-day Eritrea. Today, over half of the Ethiopian population is Christian Orthodox, predominantly found in the Tigray region, with up to 96% of the population identifying as such, and in the Amhara region, with up to 83% identifying as Christian Orthodox. Religious sites such as the Church of St. Mary of Zion in Aksum, Tigray, thought to house the Ark of Covenant, a holy site for not only Christians but Muslims alike, has also been targeted during the 2020-2022 war. This was the site of the massacre of hundreds of civilians by Eritrean forces on 28th and 29th of November 2020. Amnesty International has collected the names of over 240 people. Several of the historical churches and artifacts that have been destroyed or looted by Eritrean and Ethiopian armies in the Tigray region. Priests have also been killed during the conflict. A report dating back to the 2021 Tigray Orthodox Church Diocese stated that at least 326 members of priesthood were killed in the first months of the conflict. Unfortunately, it is very hard to find clear data about the number of priests and churches affected in the overall conflict. This is partly because some issues are yet to be resolved post-war. The destruction of churches and religious monuments and artifacts is heartbreaking for the cultural heritage of the country and for the world. Many of the beautiful churches in the region are not yet protected under UNESCO, and many need repair following the conflict. The destruction and looting of artifacts are disasters for the protection of an amazing cultural historic heritage. Here is what we know about the religious dimensions of the conflict. It is important to note that religion is closely intertwined with ethnic tensions and historical resentment. The split from the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church and the creation of the Tigray Orthodox Tewahedo Church is perhaps one of the most notable religious aspects of the conflict. This news has come following the general silence of the EOTC about the events in Tigray and the attacks on civilians. It was alleged to be too closely aligned with the perpetrators of war and not condemning the destruction of churches and monasteries in the Tigray region. Certain prominent church clergy have taken a stand in the conflict. However, this is stayed at personal levels. Orthodox Church Patriarch Abuna Matthias has criticized the government for wanting, quote, to destroy the people of Tigray, unquote. This has come in a video after seeing previous attempts to speak out were blocked. Other personalities such as Daniel Kibret, former deacon of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church and close advisor to the Prime Minister, have supported the war on Tigray. In a statement in 2021, Kibret said that, quote, they should remain the last of their kind, unquote, referring to the TPLF. Grievances towards the TPLF have been exploited to gain support during the conflict. The Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church has attempted to take contact with the Tigray Orthodox Tewahedo Church in March 2023, but these efforts were rejected. The federal government has political issues with Tigray. The region is mostly self-governing, and the TPLF's holding of its own election, which sparked the conflict in 2020, showed that they did not recognize current Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's legitimacy. What is most interesting in the discussion of religion in the Tigray conflict is the use of religious discourse and symbolics by the Prime Minister to gain support in the war. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed is a Pentecostal Christian, a group which has gained many followers in the recent decade. The Prime Minister has gained an influential position with both the Evangelical Church and the Orthodox Church through his portrayal as a prophesied seventh king of Ethiopia. He appeals to Orthodox Christians by invoking the past and the myth of a great Ethiopian Christian kingdom. By appealing to the historical significance of Christianity in Ethiopia and to the great historical kingdoms of the past, Abiy Ahmed appeals to those who felt disinherited after the TPLF led the government following the Derg regime. After the Derg period, the TPLF-led government secularized the government, distancing the idea of a return to the Christian empire. This is seen by some extreme voices in the Orthodox Christian Church, including Daniel Kibret, as a block to Ethiopian greatness. For the evangelical followers who were previously marginalized, Abiy Ahmed represents an opportunity to gain power. Tensions exist between the Orthodox and Christian adherents, but both have shown their support for the Prime Minister. The violence of this conflict and destruction of cultural and religious monuments and artifacts has led the conflict to end up on the genocide watch list. Many point to the looting and destruction as an attempt at cultural genocide. The reality and diversity of interest in the situation make it hard to read. The religious dimensions of the conflict are interesting and hold importance in the mobilization of support for this conflict. Many issues remain unresolved to this day, and the split of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church represents a further tear in the fabric that holds Ethiopia. This was Ace with the Social Talks. Thank you for tuning in.